I'm here with Matt Campbell this afternoon following our Outlook meeting at the Shores. Matt, you gave us an update on the highlights from the Jan WASDE report that was released last week. Can you talk to us about some of those highlights featuring U.S. and South America?
Yeah, the Jan WASDE is traditionally like a supply side, kind of a wrap up the 2023 growing season. USDA did feature an increase in both corn and soybean yields, which were kind of unanticipated by trade. We were looking for mostly an unchanged number, and USDA came out with probably one of the biggest increases from November to January we've ever seen in the corn yields, and about a 6/10 bushel per acre increase in beans. Overall, those were slightly offset by harvested acres reduction, and but overall the yield was a sticker shock. The market kind of reacted bearishly to that. Looking ahead, this was a report that pretty much said the corn balance sheet's probably locked in a pretty heavy carryout. The bean carryout was rising, and so those are some of the reasons why we saw the market perform like it did. Looking at South America, the big question really wasn't a matter of if the USDA was going to make cuts, but when they were going to make cuts, and frankly they didn't cut to the extent that the market was looking for. I would expect we're going to see additional cuts to the Brazilian corn and bean crops coming ahead. The big takeaway here, however, is that even with the cuts in Brazil, what you're seeing year-on-year increase in Argentina might actually offset, and then some of those losses in Brazil. This does look to be the largest soybean crop in South American history. So that's a big thing to think about when we're marketing beans. On corn, it looks to be down a little bit across some of those South American producers, but overall, it's certainly far from a disaster, although we are just heading into the big risk season of that corn growing season with the safrinha crop about to be planted over the next 30 days.
Matt, 2023 was a year of a transition from higher prices to lower prices. During that transition, the funds went from long positions to short positions. So I've got a two-pronged question for you. Do the funds grow their shorts from where they are today, say around 250,000 contract short corn and 30 to 40,000 contract short beans? And what would be some triggers to get them to cover part of that short?
So it's a good question, and I think when you look at corn, 250,000 contracts, they could technically get a little more short. They're not going to get a lot more short. This is getting into that large short position. This is actually the largest short they've ever had as of this week of the calendar year. So they're heading in with a pretty big short position on corn. They could add some shorts on beans. Again, I wouldn't expect them to add a ton. So my answer is yes, but on the second part of that question, on the covering thing, I mean, it's going to probably be one of two things. One would be geopolitical, and frankly, I don't know what that event would be. It's probably something we can't even think about on the radar right now. The second thing is going to be a weather event. The two most likely weather scenarios would be something with that Brazilian safrinha crop or the U.S. corn or soybean crop. The South American bean crop probably isn't going to be that short covering rally inducer, but it could be something with a delayed plant or some forecast for some summer heat. There's a lot of things that could trigger that short covering, and frankly, the odds are very much in favor of getting some sort of a short covering rally later on as we get into that U.S. summer growing season. I'd say playing that seasonality and those odds, it's a good chance that we're going to see something that might spook the funds out of their shorts and possibly even to have a short period of time of a net long.
All right, Matt, so we talked about, this was a year of transition. So how do we transition our marketing? So the past year and even 2 years, you could say we had good rallies and all you had to do is kind of pick a rally and sell it. And this is much different, and that rallies may be more muted in the coming year.
I think it's a good question because, you think about what was going on in the previous 3 years essentially was we had an inverted market where the spot premiums were worth more than the deferred. So in reality, like you mentioned, you're better off just finding a number and kind of hitting it. You're selling into that spot premium. There's no incentive to carry it forward. And so that was the easy marketing decision, just sell cash. Now you're looking at a different market structure where you've got a carry, where the deferred values are actually carrying a pretty significant premium to spot. So what this would say is that a grower should actually look and be more proactive in the back end with something like the new crop, whether it's 2024, possibly getting a head start on 2025. If there's profitability, at the farm level, you've booked some inputs. It's probably time to be looking at those carry opportunities and attacking that back end. There still might be, as we mentioned, some opportunity with a fund short covering for the old crop, but realistically, when you transition to a carry market, you should be looking at the new crop months a little bit more aggressively.